Welcome to UX Banter Season 6, where we sit down with design leaders to hear their stories, insights, and what drives their passion for creating better user experiences. This season, we are exploring everything from designing with AI in mind to building trust, navigating industry shifts, and staying inspired in a fast moving field. This podcast is presented by Galaxy UX Studio and powered by Galaxy Publics, an Inc. 5000 company. And I'm your host, Dushyant Kanungo. Welcome to the show. Hey everyone, this is your host Dushyant Kanungo once again with another episode of season 6 of the UX Banter podcast. So today our guest is a product designer who thrives on simplifying complex systems through clever strategy, strong decision systems, and thoughtful UX. He has led impactful work on compliances tools, scalable enterprise platforms, and AI powered workflows, always with the focus on clarity and user centered thinking. Beyond the screen, he has also spent years as a soccer coach, where he develops leadership, discipline, and team building skills that continue to influence his collaborative design approach. Please welcome Senior Product Designer at Michigan Software Labs, Ryan Brink. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
And it's great to have you in more than one way. First of all, I think the most important aspect of this conversation always remains is that the pipeline this industry has of new talent coming in, emerging well, going to the top at a pace which is undeniably fast compared to any other industry or domain you are in. And when we were speaking earlier a couple of days ago, I think that is quite an inspiration for anybody and everybody who is coming into this field and trying to make this world a little better. So tell us about yourself, as in where you started, where did you go to school, what education was it, and then how you ended up at the position that you are at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just saw a stat that said 1/3 of designers came from other backgrounds, which definitely describes me. So I grew up soccer focused, sports focused, went to school, Calvin College, now Calvin University, got a business marketing degree, and then also a kinesiology sports management degree. And you're going to ask, what does that have to do with UX design? That's a great question. And there's some good parallels there. First and foremost, with the marketing, was able to get into digital marketing after college and really see the, full journey of what a customer goes through from start to finish. In sales or marketing, that's a little bit more like a sales pipeline or sales funnel, but the parallels there are, you got to look at the user journey from a UX perspective and understand what the user needs at any given time. Maybe they're more interested in exploring, or maybe they're more interested in, making the sale. So we have to understand and empathize with them. It also created a landscape for A/B testing, especially with that digital world. The metrics are super, super helpful to understand what's working, what's not working, and really honing in on some of that copy and really sharing the language of the business to the end user. And then the other piece would be the kinesiology part. Obviously, really into sports and really saw that as a passion of mine. Wanted to combine the marketing and sports to kind of create some interesting combinations there. But what that really involves is sort of the business side of sports. You can go into kinesiology and get sports medicine degrees or PT degrees, but for me, that was sports management. And so when we think about how does that relate to UX design, we're really thinking about that end product. It's not just about a game that the professionals play. It's really about what the experience is like for the fans involved.
I mean, this is really interesting if you combine everything together. I mean, as a coach, you are dealing and talking to the boys or girls all the time about, what they are going through. Leadership is a big thing, making sure that all the parts fit together. Even when you're working on a product, the cross cultural teams, the cross dimensions teams, they all come into play the same game of the final product. So, do you think that being as somebody who is, I'm not sure that if you're an introvert or extrovert, but I believe that there is this element about being a friendly or people person. Does it play out to the skill set in UX?
I'm definitely a people person. I'm trying to be a little bit less of a like yes man and really have an opinion, right? Like it helps and it's good to have an opinion when it comes to design work. Of course, that opinion needs to be backed by really good data and findings, but that becomes powerful to kind of say, hey, I think we should go in this direction because of X, Y, Z, not just because of it's like a gut feel, right? But creating that alignment, like you were talking about with teams, everyone has their own opinion, and to create sort of alignment, especially from my coaching experience, I was coaching little girls and they have a completely different frame of mind coming into soccer. They just want to go run around and have fun. And I'm very, pragmatic and just trying to get to us winning, right? And so that might be the ultimate goal, but it's not how you bring a team together and lead in that way. So a little bit of learning from that perspective, but it's definitely helped in later years.
So when it comes to data and points, and as our guru Nelson, Jakob Nelson has always mentioned that any data is better than no data. And sports comes with numbers and facts and figures about what happened over the years. The historical numbers play a bigger role and strategize. You're looking at these dashboards, and sometimes they are intuitive, sometimes they are not. And I think it draws a clear line into what we are doing on the digital side. And I'm just adding a bit more here. With your days with digital marketing, I believe that you are also involved in a lot of dashboards during that period as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The metrics are always there, and I think that's what really bridges that gap between the left brain and the right brain because like UX and product design, it's heavily creative, but it's also very metrics driven. And so you need to combine the two, find those lines and kind of build between them.
And while this overlap is happening across, coming in from different domains and structuring it, and you were right about the one third of designers coming from non-design backgrounds, but here is some numbers that I can tell you from my podcast guests. So mostly we have three types of people that come in. One are the career designers, which they knew that they want to do design and they were in this field from early years. Then we have people who are moving from psychology. So any person who studied psychology, and if they came anywhere closer to the computers or digital, they knew exactly that this is what they wanted to do. And then comes the majority, which followed from architecture background. Lots and lots of architects that who just transformed their careers to design. And their train of thought is that because it is very tangible to see the results of their hard work sooner, rather than waiting for the entire stadium to be built to realize that, oh, it is not accessible or it does not fulfill the requirement. Everything can happen so fast. So those are the three main domains that we have found. Do you think that people who have been coming into this industry from different backgrounds, they challenge you in some ways, or make your life easier or harder when these perspectives come face to face?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think everyone has a unique perspective, which is fantastic. And the nature of UX and product design is that we're iterative, right? So it's a perfect combination to bring in a lot of different people's perspectives and really push the knowledge there. So I've been able to partner up with a lot of really great people over the years, and they've always been able to push my mindset and really make me think about a different angle, which is really, really great. And it's not about, who's perfect or who's got the best ideas. It's about creating this collaborative work environment in order to find the best solution because it's not about us, it's about the end user at the end of the day, right?
Right. So you grew up in Michigan. Your whole life you lived there, or have you been moving around?
Yep, my whole life in Michigan. For part of my life, I was on the Detroit side. and then for the majority of my life in the West Side, Grand Rapids. So it's been great. I call it home now, even though there were some great memories over in Lake Orion. So
But that's fun, huh? I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world. It must be amazing during this season. I think the fall is about to start or summer's just ending. So colorful.
yeah,
So with that, I want to jump on to some rapid fire questions if you are ready.
let's do it.
All right, begin with how much do you lift?
How much do I lift? Not so much anymore, but at my heyday, if you will, I was lifting probably like two plates, so 225 for bench. And I
Oh,
think I was able to do that with a front squat. So not too bad, but I think my back is going to give out if I keep going that way.
that's interesting. So do you find that when you're doing UX research, people would answer just because they wanted to please you, as in what you want to hear, rather than give out their honest answers?
Gotcha. Let me think about that. No, I think we do a good job at asking the right questions and then following up with another question to kind of get at the heart of it. It's like where are we going? What are we actually trying to ask? And can we get to the core of the problem? And sometimes that, we'll start with a broader question, but it leans back into like what the heart of the question is, and we want to extract that.
All right, tea or coffee,
Coffee, at least a couple cups.
whiskey or beer?
Ooh, whiskey.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you would say
Buffalo
beer.
Trace. I mean, it depends on the day. I think, a summer day warrants a beer. If it's in the middle of winter, winter can be tough here. So whiskey is a great option then.
And mountains or seaside?
Ooh, I think I like seaside. With Michigan, we've got five Great Lakes and countless in lakes, and it's just a great way to get on the water and see God's nature and just be able to be a part of it.
Do you cook?
I do.
What is your go-to recipe?
Oh, anything easy. A lot of spaghetti. I'm trying to get those carbs for the next time I run around. But I love Mexican food. I think that's the best kind of food out there.
Sunrise or sunsets?
Sunrise because no one's up.
All right. And your favorite holiday destination?
Holiday destination. I haven't done a whole lot of holiday destinations. I think it would be really great to go over to Europe for, Christmas or something, something out of the ordinary. Sometimes when we're feeling a little depressed in the winter, we'll go down south, somewhere warm, maybe Mexico. So that's always a great option.
Europe, you would want to do it in summertime. I think that would be the best. That is my
Yep,
um,
absolutely.
books or movies.
Movies.
Your favorite one.
Hmm.
It could be a series. It could be
I think The Dark Knight is a fantastic movie, and it's just so well done.
any UX book that you can recommend.
So I would recommend The Design of Everyday Things because I think that encompasses more than just digital experiences. And that's a really good gateway into what does design mean and how can we apply it to a lot of different areas.
It is a perfect and it's a brilliant read. And I think even if you are not a designer, that is one book that everybody should definitely have a go at it. And it is beautifully written. And if you consider that this was written many, many years back, before all the things digital were coming in, that gives the insights into it's not just about the software, but it is actually about everyday objects and things. Another recommendation that I can give to any designers, or even if you must have read it, which is called Don't Make Me Think by Steve Kirk is fantastic. I can't have enough of that one. Even if you reread it, there's always the theory that if the design is making me think, then something is wrong, and what are the pointers to look at, and all that. All right, with that, coming to your current role, and thank you for being a sport and answering all the appropriate and inappropriate questions. So. Here, you are working for a Fortune 500 company and projects, right?
Yep, we've been involved with a lot of different Fortune 500 companies, but the work expands from anywhere on that larger side with more mature products all the way down to finding the right fit in a product strategy. So people that are trying to get into the space and really see if what they're doing is good and validated for that market.
So, with enterprise, there has always been a big discussion that we have had here on this show before, which is the UX of enterprise applications. Because most product owners think that anybody who is going to be using our application is getting paid to do so. So, a UX might not be required, or we want to do it a certain way, or management wants to do it a certain way. And I'm not saying that it is not true because you don't get the access to the stakeholders directly because everybody is in house and all, but the cost, the ROI of UX becomes a big bottleneck. Many a times, I have personally experienced that the time people are spending on training and not able to find the routine task or task that they are doing every day multiple times, but it takes multiple steps to complete, then it becomes a bit of a challenge. And you being in the same space, do you agree or you do not agree with the statement that I just made?
Yeah, I mean, it with bigger companies, there's always more red tape to get anything done. And so it's a game that you kind of have to enter understanding that it's a different space than just a normal startup or some smaller, company. And so understanding who the stakeholders are and how they operate, what interest they have is really important to understand in order to find that buy-in, thinking about some of those leadership principles from earlier, and then thinking about how do we best advocate for the end user. And sometimes we don't always get the kind of access that we want to the end user and the ability to, drive those metrics and have those really solid data-founded decisions. And so we have to find ways to create that buy-in and creating sort of that alignment in order to push forward. So a good way to do that is creating that shared vision and then bringing them along the way and saying, hey, how do you think we best should approach this? And these are our recommendations, and hopefully we get going on the same direction.
Small agencies, startups, and the small businesses and SMEs, they always have this little bit of open spot where they can rely on the latest tech very quickly, such as everybody is talking, and that has to be the theme of this season, which is artificial intelligence. When we are talking about such roadblocks in research and finding the data where it is really hard to dig up and sell to actual stakeholders, what is your take or the process that you're using with AI to ensure the efficiency is on the upward trajectory?
Yeah, it's a great question. AI can be really, really powerful, but with powerful tools, you need to know how to use them well, right? And so with these enterprise software companies, it really is a matter of utilizing them during the process, not as like a jump from 0 to 100, getting to a final product, right? It can brainstorm really well. It can help you ideate really well. But it can't really do all of the work for you. The UX process still needs to be intact. So if you put in garbage, garbage will come out, right? So we have to go through the appropriate steps. And one of the things that I was able to do was uncover some different nuances for compliance software, right? And so there's a lot that goes on there. And we don't want anything to fall through the cracks. As you can imagine, there's differences in local, state, or federal governments, and the ability to string all that together might be difficult for one person to handle, but utilizing artificial intelligence with that can really help make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. But then to jump from all of that information and then create the product, it takes a little bit of innovation. That's sort of our goal. And so that's why we're designers. And there are some really good generative AI tools for some of the UI and wireframing. But again, back to the process, it only creates the things that you tell it to create. So if we don't have the appropriate UX process going into it, then the stuff coming out of it won't be anything worthwhile.
I think you have made one point that was, that has to be the focus of this conversation, and then I want to dig more about it. Is you said number one, it is enterprise UX, and number two, it has to go through compliances. And there are compliances each industry comes with that we are not aware about, or we may not be aware about. And there are edge cases that could be left out by humans because we are not the industry masters. I mean, yes, we know about UX, we know about the delivery that we are going to make, but in the end, each industry comes with their own set of rules and guidelines, and we don't want to break those. And using AI in the context of compliances and edge cases that, you know, they follow from that point onwards, it could be a great use case to sell it to the stakeholders that why enterprise UX should be AI enabled.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to be ignorant of the industry. And for my example, it's logistics based. And so there's a lot that goes into that. Do I have a logistics background? No, you heard it was marketing and kinesiology. So that helps, pair my background, my expertise in design to something that is, the enterprise software where it's logistics based and we can uncover all the appropriate things, get me up to speed and help me produce the right things.
And there is one more question on the same on the enterprise side before we move on, which is how did you convince the stakeholders to let AI become the part of the process?
Yeah, I think, it's always a conversation where we are walking through these things together. And so people are well aware that AI is here and here to stay. And so we kind of integrate it into our process a little bit more on our side. And through those findings, we can share what the design process was to get there. And usually there's some good buy-in from that perspective. I don't think I've seen it hurt at all. Of course, we don't want to come across like we know more than what we actually do just because AI was our partner in crime there. So, really having that candid conversation around what exactly the design process was to get from point A to point B.
What about data security? Are you not, or organization, are they not worried about?
Yeah, there's frequent discussions about, hey, don't just put all of the data up into ChatGPT or similar software because that can be, private data that is now being used to test for other things. And so there's been other solutions that can be locally based, or you can generalize things a little bit more so that it's not product or client specific. So different ways that you can mitigate that risk. But really, what you put out is, going to be used in future instances unless you find the right and appropriate settings or bring it locally hosted.
Yeah, that is, I think, is the biggest roadblock that everybody is going through now. The big enterprise service providers in all over the world, they are worried about that entire compliance part. So if somebody is working at an agency and you have the client NDA signed, and if somebody just starts to use GPTs without the proper permission and the cycle, not just the employee has broken or breached the NDA, but the agency owner is liable because now the data is out in the world. And that brings the biggest ethical dilemma that should we train our staff? Should we make sure that anything and everything is going out has to be blocked? Or what are the steps that this can be resolved? Generalization is one thing, but humans, you never know what's going to happen, even with designers. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I think this is something which is, of course, which should be talked through, and I think in coming months, not years, that somebody might find a solution to it. With that, coming back to you, you have you are a published author. You have published a book called Phony Confessions of a Designer. Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a little bit of a pet project that I had, something a little bit more fun and just creative for the space of what we do here with UX. And what it really was is just a way to make fun of different instances of how we, cut corners as designers. Our process is very defined, but it's not always perfect. And so it's kind of a confession, and it just kind of goes through different examples of how we do some things maybe a little bit not perfect. For example, I think one of the examples there would be you have the pixel perfect mentality, but your art boards are a complete mess, right? If you go into Figma or your design software, things are a little bit more scattered, and I'm sure it's super easy for everyone to just copy and paste art boards. And then after an hour, you look back and there's just a scattered set of art boards that you didn't realize what you were getting into. But that's the beauty of the iterative design, right? You can go choose your art board that you enjoy and delete the rest.
When we spoke last, I actually went to your website and I read the book, and I can tell you it was like I spent 45 minutes just flipping and laughing, and it is relatable. So everyone who wants to have a look and read the book, you can go to the website brinkryan.com, which is in the description and on the screen, and go and read the book, and also check out the awesome portfolio that Ryan has put up for everybody to see. If anybody wants to connect with Ryan to learn more about him, know more about him, or just have a laugh together, I think you can connect him on LinkedIn. With that, Ryan, what would be your advice to the young professionals who are listening or may want to follow in on your footsteps?
Absolutely. The thing that I would say is find what you love. For me, going through college, I found what I liked, but it wasn't what I loved. And so making that bridge into design was a realization that, creativity was missing. And once I found it, I was able to tinker with things all day. And so being able to go into a profession that you can tinker with, and just spend hours in, it won't feel like work. And just start with that passion. And hopefully in the future you can match that up with business value. So kind of creating that combination. You can't just have, your fun on the side. It's got to be something that creates value for the people that you are designing for. And so that would be the ultimate game. That would be the ultimate plan there. But just follow your passion. I know a lot of people that have come from a different background that found UX and found design, and I've helped them, find the right schooling and mentorship. And I think it's a great path for anyone.
Thank you so much for that advice. And also, thank you so much for joining us and taking your time for this episode of our podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So, that was the latest episode of UX Panther Podcast Season 6. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned for another episode very soon. Have a wonderful day ahead.